So, you're sick of nagging your kids to do anything and you'd rather them listen to you right away. You're looking for a method that doesn't drive you crazy, doesn't let the kids run wild, and also doesn't include physical punishment. Welcome to the very simple method of how to get your kids to listen to you. This method has been backed by research, but I've got to warn you before you start using it. Although it is very simple and very effective, it's not necessarily an overnight fix. This method requires you to be very diligent and to practice it with integrity for a while before it sets in and starts to work. So, if you're ready to be patient and use this method, you can build a family culture that values respect and communication. Are you up for the challenge? If so, let's start with step number 1, which is to ask for your request no more than twice, okay? Chances are, if you're watching this video, you've had times in the past where you have started to nag your kids and ask them for the same things over and over again. This is totally normal. For some reason, we human beings think that if we ask someone to do something 100 times, magically on the 101st time that we ask, they'll suddenly perk up, listen, hear us, and be obedient. And that's actually not the case at all, okay? In fact, the opposite becomes true. The more you nag someone for something and ask them the same thing over and over and over again, the more your voice becomes noise pollution or background noise. People start to tune you out because you're just repeating yourself over and over and over again. That's totally normal. It's the brain filtering out important information. And if you're saying the same thing a million times, that's obviously not important information. So instead, when you hold yourself to only asking for something 2 times, your words can become way more powerful because you're not using them up and blabbering and nagging all the time, okay? Instead, you decided you deserve respect. You deserve to be listened to on the first or second time. And any asking above that, no, it just turns into nagging. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to say that. So this might be a hard habit to follow, but limit yourself to only requesting something 2 times, okay? Now, when you ask your kid to do something, it's very important to, number 1, make sure you clearly communicate what action you want your kid to take, okay? Sometimes as parents, we say something that is not actually a request for obedience as much as it's a statement. Here's an example. Let's say we're at the park and it's time to go home. And so you announce to your kid, "Hey kid, it's time to go home." Thinking, what? What are they going to do? If you look at it, that is actually just a statement. You are just saying, at this arbitrary time of day, it is time for us to go home. And your kid can hear you and understand you and say, "Okay, cool, it's time to go home." And then they can go on and play and keep playing. And the reality is, since you didn't make it clear what action you want them to take, they're not really being disobedient, okay? So instead, you as a parent have got to make sure you're making it very clear what action you want your kids to take. So at the park, you might say something like, "Hey, it's time to go. Will you please come hop in the stroller or come start walking home with me?" Whatever it is that needs to get done. Then your kid has a little bit of understanding of what they're supposed to do next, what action they're supposed to change. And then if they don't do it, that's disobedience and we move on to step 2. But real quick, still in step 1, very helpful, especially for little kids, in announcing this action they're supposed to take, you can give them a choice. All human beings love choice. We value our agency and our independence above so many other things. And this starts at a very young age. So as a parent, you can give your kids an opportunity to practice independence and decision making by giving them choices as much as possible. So maybe when it's time to leave the park, you can say, "Hey, time to leave the park. Please come hop in your stroller. Do you want to pick which slide you ride down? Which is your last slide you're going to do? Or what's the last thing you're going to do at the park? We have 1 minute left." Okay? This can get the kid excited or excited to be obedient more than before because now they have a little bit of choice. And obviously, maybe they didn't want to leave the park and they don't have all the freedom in the world, but at least they get to pick how they leave the park or what thing they get to do. So start practicing this as much as you can. Maybe when you ask your kid to help set the table, they get to pick which kind of plate that they use. Or when you ask your kid to come to bedtime, come get ready for bed, they get to pick which pajamas they use. This gets them involved in the decision-making process, which makes them more willing to be involved with whatever has to happen. And again, they're practicing independence, responsibility, and decision-making. So that's step one. Just give your kid 2 chances to follow the action that you want them to do. And of course, important, make sure they can hear you and that they're capable of fulfilling the action you want them to do. Now, if unfortunately they aren't obedient after that, it's time for step 2, which is to announce a related consequence. Now, so often as parents, we are trying to think of how to get our kid to come, so we got to think of something they don't want to happen and threaten it with them. But if we think of an unrelated threat versus a related consequence, then it's not going to be effective. Let me show you why. If, for example, we're at the park, time to go, I might announce as a related consequence, if you don't come right away, then you don't get dessert tonight. A good consequence, right? Wrong. Unfortunately, this consequence is so far in the future that by the time dessert time rolls around, I might, number 1, forget that we even had this happen at the park. Number 2, the kid doesn't even care anymore because the park was so long ago. Or number 3, they've been so great for the rest of the day that I actually want to give them dessert. Dessert's amazing. Everyone should get dessert. Let's forget what happened in the park and just have dessert. The problem with that is that every time you go back on a boundary or consequence that you supposedly set up, it erodes the trust between you and your kid. And they start to learn that any of the boundaries and consequences you come up with don't actually matter, and they don't have to follow any of the rules. But as a parent, you can teach them that consequences and boundaries are there for a reason. And it's true in real life as adults. We walk on the sidewalk instead of the road so we don't get hit by a car. And we be respectful to our bosses so we don't get fired. There's all these rules and consequences in place for our safety and our gain. And you can teach your kids all those benefits of following consequences or avoiding negative consequences starting really early. So, come up with something related. Back to the park, instead of saying no dessert tonight, you might say, hey, if you don't come down a slide right away, I'll have to come up and carry you down the stairs. That's way less fun. I don't want you to have to do that. Let's be on the same page and you do something fun. You pick which slide you come down and then we can have a grand old time and go home together. Try to keep it light, try to keep it fun so that the kid can understand this is a good time, it's okay, it's helpful to follow consequences and boundaries and to follow the rules to avoid negative consequences. Hopefully by now the children understand what the related consequence is. It's something relevant and present, it's happening right now, so it's not some far off distant thing they don't care about. And it's something that they don't want to experience. This leads them to be obedient to you. But if not, then it's time for you to move on to step 3, which is to hold the boundary and follow through on the consequence that you just followed. Now, you've got to stay calm while you do this. And unfortunately, as you hold the boundary, you might now be facing a tantrum. And that's really the bottom of why disciplining is so hard for parents, because nobody likes tantrums, okay? Nobody wants to face them. They're so awkward, they're so hard. Lots of times we would rather just fix the tantrum as soon as possible. So maybe we give them a treat to calm down, or we go back on our word and say, okay, never mind, you can actually have 5 more minutes. The problem is when you reward their tantrums with a treat or loosening the boundary or consequence, then they learn that tantrums get them what they want. And the next time you try to hold a boundary, they won't listen to you because they know if they throw a great big fit, you're going to give in. They're going to get something great out of it. So, of course, just by human nature, that's how we learn. If there's a good consequence, then we do that thing again and again. So it's up to you to calmly hold the boundary, to calmly have a negative consequence and not rush to fix it. This can be so hard. So, one of the first things you have to do is normalize tantrums. Be okay with them. Recognize that tantrums are totally normal. They're developmentally appropriate in children of all ages and even human beings of all ages because none of us are born with perfect emotional intelligence. We all experience life and try to learn and navigate how to have these big emotions. And nobody likes to experience those negative emotions. And sometimes as adults, we do cry, or we do fight, or we do say something horrible that we later regret. That's okay. That's normal. It's part of the human experience and learning and growing and moving on. So, as with your children, start by normalizing the tantrum. Don't feel embarrassed or shameful if you're the only parent at the park with a screaming kid. Guess what? It's okay. It's normal. Kids scream, kids cry. That's what they do. Instead, become the picture of calm for two reasons. Number one, if you start to immediately bear down on your kid, you start screaming back, you are going to trigger bigger emotions in the both of you, and you might teach them to fear you, which is not what you want. In the end, you want them to learn to obey you because they respect and love you. But if you come down with bigger threats and mean voice and grabbing them harshly because you're the bigger person, they're going to learn to fear you. And they won't ever learn to follow and obey you because they love and trust you. But if you can remain calm, then they will love and trust you. They'll know that you're a calm, safe space for them to bring even their biggest, wildest emotions and problems to. Also, as you remain calm, they'll be able to learn from your example. Maybe instead of fixing it, you sit by them and start breathing very deeply and showing them how to breathe deeply. Maybe you hug them and hold them and give them space. Normalize their emotions. Say, hey, this is a very big feeling. I can see you're feeling sad. It's okay to feel sad, okay? You want to normalize their emotions. You can help them calm down with deep breaths. You can also distract them from these big emotions by talking about future plans. Maybe say, hey, do you think you could feel better if we had a snack when we got home? Do you think you want apples or bananas? Again, a great place to give a little choice, give them some of that independence and free thinking so they have something to look forward to. Another thing I find very helpful is to tell my kid a story of when I was upset when I was their age. I'll just say something very simple like, hey, I get it that you're feeling so sad. It's so sad to leave the park. I'm really sorry. When I was your age, I was sad when I had to leave the park. And you know what helped? My mom. I remembered I had snacks at home. And my mom made me apples and peanut butter, and it was so delicious. And then I felt better. Do you think apples and peanut butter would help you feel better? Should we go home and have that? Respect your kid by giving them space to have these big emotions. Try not to get upset. This is where it takes the most practice, is to just bear these tantrums, be their safe person, walk with them through it, even if it's loud and disruptive and not very enjoyable for you. If you can be the picture of calm and help, be there for them, be there with them, then that will be huge in establishing trust and calmness and respect between the two of you. Now, at this point, you've asked for something no more than twice. You've set a clear consequence for disobedience, and then you've held that boundary if, again, they were disobedient. You've demonstrated to your kids that you're a person of your word. When you make a request that isn't obeyed, the consequences follow, but also, as a loving parent, you'll help your kiddos navigate the big emotions that come with experiencing negative consequences. Okay? What a great relationship to build. It's hard and it takes time and practice, but you can do it. Now, let's go over, as a bonus, here are a few other principles you can start implementing in your home to build and cultivate respect. At the end of the day, when your kids listen to you, it's because they respect you. And kids will learn how to respect you better if you respect them and show them the ultimate example of respect. So, even if your kids are so young, so little, you can start this at baby's age. Here's a few things you can do to cultivate respect in your family. Number one, listen to your kids. I know it's so hard sometimes. Sometimes they ask annoying questions or they talk for so long or take a long time to get their thoughts out. Do your best to respectfully listen. Put your screens away. Answer the questions they ask as best as you can. Give them time to get out their thoughts, even if they're saying a million times or can't think of the word they're going to say or they're repeating the same question over and over. If you demonstrate respect and give them space to ask those questions and you listen intently, they will do the same for you. They'll have that example and they'll be able to use that in their own lives towards you and everyone else they come across. Second principle is to say sorry. Apologize, okay? Chances are there will be times in using this method and in other parenting adventures that you mess up. I know I've messed up all the time, but it's so powerful. Every time I mess up in parenting, I get frustrated, I snap at them, whatever. When I take a beat to myself and then come back to them and apologize, I say, hey, I'm so sorry. I should not have talked to you like that. I'm really sorry I felt so frustrated. Next time, I'm going to be nice and take some deep breaths. Okay? This is huge for kids because number one, you're showing that you're not perfect. And that means that you are two human beings who can work together in this family, okay? It's not your word at the end of the day. Everybody gets to work together, okay? You're not the person to fear. You're a person to work together with in the family. And number two, you are showing them an example of how to say sorry. And I kid you not, by the time she was 3 years old, my oldest would say sorry to me every time she messed up. And she knew how to say, I forgive you when I apologized to her. We just created this part of our relationship that included repentance and forgiveness. We apologized and forgave each other, and now that's a part of our relationship. And it feels so good because you're human, okay? You're a parent, you're gonna mess up. I hate to break it to you. I know you wanna be perfect and the best, and every day you can get better, but not without some mistakes along the way. And it feels so much better to come and use that mistake as a learning experience. And instead of forgetting about it, moving on, hoping they'll all forget about how horrible you acted, instead you can talk about it. Bring it up to the family and say, hey guys, I stepped over a line. I'm so sorry. Will you forgive me? And can you help me think of what I could do better next time? That is such a wholesome way to lead your family. You're demonstrating respect for their opinions and asking for respect back on you. So say sorry, apologize, make it a habit, learn how to do it gracefully. It feels so good, I promise. And then another principle of respect is to speak kindly to and about your children, especially to other adults. Sometimes as adults, we get together and start talking about how horrible the kids are. But guess what? They can hear us and they understand a lot of it. And those words can stick with them for a long time. So instead, resolve to only speak kindly about your kids. Even if it's something crazy they did, like, my kid kicked me today. Yeah, that's a negative thing. And you can say, you know what? Afterwards, she apologized, and I'm just really impressed and grateful that she's learning how to do that. Okay? There's always a way to spin your kids' horrible behavior into something good or something interesting. You say, you know what? She hasn't apologized to me, so I think I gotta learn about that. She's so amazing, though. I know she didn't mean to, or I know I love how fiery and passionate she is. I don't know, just if you can make an effort to speak kindly about the kids and who they are, that goes a long way. Even if they do actions that are unacceptable, inappropriate, that's okay. That's separate from who they are. And who they are is always worthy of love and incredible. And finally, I encourage you to pray. If you need help building this respect, building these habits, using this method, you can ask God or spirit or universe, whatever you believe in, to help you, to help and bless your efforts and to enable you to become a better parent. It's hard, and when you tap into the spiritual side of yourself, you can have a lot of power and ability to become a better person. If you feel called to learn more about family life tips, feel free to subscribe. All the tips I share are simple and research-based solutions for families to succeed. That's my whole goal with this channel, and I'm so excited about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Mwah.